The Chicago Bulls signing DeMar DeRozan is actually a lot better of a signing than you may realize. Believe it or not, DeMar DeRozan had one of the most underrated seasons in the NBA last year, and arguably should have made the All-Star team depending on who you ask. In this video, I'm going to cover what changes DeMar made to his game in this previous season that made him such a versatile player, and the implications for the Bulls with him coming to team up with Zach Lavine, Lonzo Ball, and Nikola Vucevic. The Bulls are doing as good a job as any to put a competitive team around Zach Lavine before he becomes a free agent in order to get him to sign a contract extension. With the addition of Nikola Vucevic last year, and the addition of Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan this offseason, the Bulls front office has to like their chances of keeping him around. In my last video, I talked about what makes Lonzo Ball such a nice addition to this Bulls roster. In this video, I'm going to talk about what Bulls fans can expect from DeMar DeRozan this year. The obvious aspect of DeRozan's game is his ability to get you a bucket essentially at will. While he isn't a three-point threat by any means, his ability to score in the mid-range and finish at the rim make him an exceptional and versatile scorer. At the rim this season, he shot 63.3% on 177 attempts. In the mid-range, he shot 48% on 10.9 attempts per game. That percentage may not sound incredible since we're living in the three-point era, but for some perspective, the league average field goal percentage in the mid-range is around 38%, meaning that DeMar DeRozan is 10% better than league average. He's got a relatively tight handle, and his ability to create space along the baseline and at the elbow is exceptional. Not to mention that he consistently throws down some very, very impressive dunks. His ability to stop and go in traffic and send the defender biting allows him to hit easy turnaround mid-range shots and makes him a very unpredictable scorer. All of that combined with his finishing ability make him an absolutely lethal scoring threat and a reliable scoring option. Now, do you want him to be your number one scoring option? Not necessarily. He does have limitations to his game, but when you have him alongside a player like Zach Lavine, he can be more than enough to augment your offense and provide some supplementary scoring as the second or third option. One aspect of DeMar's game that has really shown through this year is his ability to make plays for his teammates. Prior to his time in San Antonio, he wasn't really viewed as a threat in regards to playmaking. But he averaged a career-high 6.9 assists per game this year on only 2 turnovers. For some added context, DeMar's career average in assists is 3.8 per game. This is a very apparent new development in his game that we've only really seen since he's been in San Antonio. An assist-to-turnover ratio of 6.9 to 2 is extremely desirable for any playmaker, and to get that from a forward is something that we don't get to see very often. As I've said in previous videos, and I'll continue to emphasize till the day that I die, playmaking isn't just how many assists you're getting per game. It involves your scoring gravity and creating high percentage looks for your teammates. DeMar has some really nice numbers outside of just his assists per game. He boasts an 8.1 passer rating, 9.9 box creation, meaning that he creates 9.9 shots for his teammates per 100 possessions, and he has a massive offensive load of 43.7, meaning that he's directly involved with 43.7 plays per 100 possessions. These numbers actually make him one of the better passers when you're looking at him in the context of the top 15 assist leaders in the league, and he actually ranks 11th amongst those players. There are guys who may average more assists per game, but they're not necessarily as efficient of a playmaker that DeMar is. Like I said, it's not just about getting assists, it's about using the touches that you're given in a wise manner and being efficient with the ball in your hand, and it's something DeMar DeRozan is very, very good at. Some additional numbers, DeMar also boasts an absurd 18.5 points per 75 possessions, meaning his assists result in almost 19 points per 75 possessions for his team. When people say that DeMar DeRozan was the best playmaker on the Spurs, that's not a hot take or an exaggeration, it's legitimately true. He ranked in the top 10% of the league in playmaking talent, which is the top tier in the league, while the next best playmaker, DeJounte Murray on that team, was outside of the top 20%. As a forward, DeMar was an exceptional playmaker, and the Spurs offense was heavily benefited by having him as the primary distributor. While I still understand that there are flaws to his game and that he wasn't always making the right decisions on the court in San Antonio, he's still a very, very good player. One thing that makes DeRozan so good is the fact that he attracts a lot of attention from defenses through his scoring gravity. This allows him to find easy looks for teammates when the defenses collapse on him. DeMar played a pretty significant role in just about all aspects of the San Antonio offense this season, and while a lot of the playmaking burden isn't going to fall on him this season with Lonzo Ball in Chicago, it's good to know that when Lonzo isn't on the floor with DeMar will still be able to offer high-level playmaking. While his defense is not going to win any awards anytime soon, there are some areas where he does a serviceable job, and as long as he's playing alongside Lonzo Ball and Patrick Williams, he'll be able to be hidden on defense to a certain extent. Some areas on defense where he does well, he's really good at recovering loose balls, he's a fairly serviceable rebounder on the defensive end, and he actually gets 1 steal per 75 possessions, which is just fine. Like I said, the Bulls aren't getting him for defense, that's why they have Lonzo Ball, that's why they have Patrick Williams. Anyone hoping for DeMar to improve on defense at this point in his career should really stop holding their breath. Now, taking a look at a standard Chicago starting 5 from last year, you can see the only area where they really have the potential to excel is in spacing. All of these guys were relatively good three-point shooters except for Garrett Temple, who fortunately is no longer on the team, but they don't have any other shared strengths. Some of them are good at one thing, other guys are good at another thing. The only solid rim finishers were Lavine and Vucevic, and overall there's a lot of discrepancies in talent, and the burden fell on them to try and make something happen on offense. While these guys all have their own individual strengths, when you put them together as a unit, they lacked cohesiveness and the ability to play with versatility. Now, looking at this potential starting 5, things look a lot different. You're seeing a lot of green here. Everyone except for DeMar can shoot threes, everyone except for Lonzo can finish at the rim at a high level, and everyone except for Patrick Williams possesses playmaking ability. They're above 90th percentile in every category except for getting to the rim, and adding DeMar DeRozan at least gives them another player aside from Zach Lavine who's elite at doing so. In my opinion, they have one of the most talented potential starting lineups in the NBA, especially if Patrick Williams is able to take a leap in his development. Not only do they have a ridiculous amount of offensive firepower, but they also have 2 very solid defenders in Patrick Williams and Lonzo Ball. And even Zach Lavine has improved defensively this season. One thing I really like about this lineup is the fact that DeMar and Lonzo both don't need the ball in their hands to succeed. Both are accomplished playmakers, and when you have a prolific scorer like Zach Lavine, it's going to help alleviate some of the concerns that could potentially arise from the classic problem that we've seen with some other teams that end up with quote-unquote too many mouths to feed. It's unrealistic to just say that the Bulls are contenders because of these offseason acquisitions, but I absolutely think that with this starting 5, they can make the playoffs with relative ease. I'm not saying they're going to be a home court advantage team or anything like that, but I'm fairly confident that they'll make the playoffs. The goal was not to build an immediate contender. The goal was to put talent around Zach Lavine before he goes up for a contract. The Bulls front office has done exactly that, and you have to think that Lavine is looking at his new teammates, and he's pretty satisfied with how the Chicago roster is starting to shape up. So what are your expectations for the Chicago Bulls this season? Do you think that they make the playoffs? And if so, how far do you think that they'll make it? Be sure to leave a comment below and let me know, and as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a like on the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.